Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April, is it the 19th? Meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners. Russ Blount's shaking his head, thanks. And let us begin by calling the roll.
Chairperson Einhauser,
Present.
Vice Chair Blackman,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia,
Present.
Commissioner Forte is excused, plans to join us. Commissioner Kinlock is excused, but plans to join us. And Commissioner Coleman is absent. We have a quorum.
But barely. Hopefully we'll be joined by others soon. Then next, let's move to the approval of the agenda.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any corrections or additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the agenda is adopted. Next, approval of the minutes of March the 15th.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any corrections or other changes to the minutes? Then the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that is adopted. Let's move to public comment, and who will be,
Mr. Chair, I'll do the instructions.
thank you.
You're welcome. To make a comment, if you are in person, please sign the sign-in sheet that is located in the back of the room. Your name will be called and you can proceed to the microphone. If you are online, please raise your hand at this time by using the raise hand icon on your desktop or mobile device. If you are calling into the meeting by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. If you are online or on phone, after your name is called, IT will give you permission to unmute. In order to begin speaking, however, you will have to unmute yourself. To do so, press the unmute button, which is the microphone icon if you're online, or *6 if you're calling in. As a reminder, you will have a limit of 3 minutes to make your comment. There will be a timer indicating your remaining time. If you're online and make a comment, we kindly request you fill out the comment card. There will be a link provided in the chat. By filling out the card, we will have your contact information to follow up appropriately. If you are unable to click the link, please let us know and a telephone number will be provided for you to call to provide us the needed information. You will only be called upon once. And once the chair closes public comment, there will be no other comments from the public and all attendees will remain muted for the duration of the meeting. On-site comments may go first, followed by online and on the phone. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I have 3 individuals in the room who've signed up to make comments, and I'd like to call the first one, Sally Reeve. Ms. Reeve?
Okay, Mr. Chair, before you call on that person, could you let the record reflect I arrived at 2:02?
Russ, you're third on the list. I'm going to call you. We're going to give you credit for being here so early. Let's hear from Russ Blount. Please.
Thank you, Council. I'd like to pass these documents and there's a couple of photographs. I'd like to make sure Director Gary Brown gets one of them. I'm trying to address storm drain problems again in our area, which I've done before the commission before. There is also a request in that to change the covers because we have 5 of them in our area that have 6 holes in them and they constantly clog up. And you'll see in the photograph, I hope you'll see it as it circulates, the other photograph that we have. I showed a picture of a pond 175 feet long that blocked up the westbound side of East Nevada. That was after it had drained. All of Nevada gets clogged up. And this is a police and commercial and fire department corridor because they're nearby locations. So I'm asking for some attention to that. Some of these are previous asks. Some of them go back to 2019. I've asked for some of these to be addressed. So I'm hoping, and I understand from a conversation today with Brian Peckinpah that there is a shortage of crews, and I'm going to try and help you recruit some people to start working for DWSD. That's how I started. So, and I also want to take the time to commend some of the people that I've had contact in dealing with just standard customer service issues. Rita Lewis in the billing department just evoked commitment to helping people that needed to be helped. I've had the same experience with Nakia Branch. And I really see this coming down from the leadership that Director Brown has over customer service, the Matt Phillips. See, with Brian Peckinpah, we participated, for those who don't know, in the Lifeline Rate Program, our neighborhood association. We got a couple hundred people involved and enrolled through our efforts, and we raised money to do outreach to 5,000 homes through the ME Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So we got great participation and cooperation through Brian's work and his team. And I want to develop the habit of making sure that we're commending the people that do the work respectfully for the community that we serve. And those are my comments. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ballant. Now, I'm sorry, Sally Reeve? Good afternoon, Ms. Reeve. How are you?
Hi, my name is Beer, B-I-E-R, and I might not have printed very well. And I'd like to yield
That's my fault. I apologize.
No, I'd like to yield this mic to my companion here. I'm not really as versed as he is, and he arrived a little later than me.
Hi, first of all, thank you for hearing from me today. This building is amazing. I've always wanted to be in here. It's gorgeous. First, I want to say I appreciate, I read the news. I appreciate the work you guys have done over the last few years. And I understand all the pressures that you faced. And I appreciate the sort of elegant solution that I understand you've come to in terms of water rate increases. And what I understand is that individual homeowners are not facing as much of a rate increase as, and then larger corporate entities are sort of taking on a bit of that burden. That's what I've come to understand after talking to a water lawyer. I don't know if that's 100% true. You can clarify. We live in a co-op about 5 blocks from here, and a co-op is like a corporate structure. We're not like shareholders, though. All our dividends, we don't get dividends. Our rates just keep going up and up and up with our homeowners association. And we just got a 68% increase in our water rate from you guys. And we don't know why that happened or who we should contact about it. And we're all kind of baffled. There's 4 co-ops over there. And if you think about all the co-ops in Detroit, they stretch all the way from down Lafayette, all the way to Mount Elliott. I don't know if other co-op entities are facing a 68% increase in their water rates. My understanding is what might have happened is, even though we're 112 individual homeowners, we're being charged like you're charging Dan Gilbert or Mike Ilitch, like a big corporation, because we use so much water as one entity, even though we're 112 individual homeowners. And if that's the case, I just wanted to come today to talk to you guys about why that's problematic in our neighborhood. And that is, our co-op increase, when they face an increase like that, it's going to come right back to us. And every year our co-op fees increase, and it's pushing out the middle class people who I've been there for 17 years. And it's a wonderful neighborhood of middle class people, teachers, police officers, firefighters. You know, it's not. And as time has gone on, more and more of these sort of wealthy out-of-staters have been moving in and buying our co-ops, and they don't care about the price increases. But it bothers me every time we see a price increase, one of my elderly neighbors sells their house and moves out. And that seems to me kind of in the spirit of what you guys have been doing here is keeping people from having to, lose their homes or not be able to afford their water. And I think if there's some way we can come to an equitable solution, it would be great. What's going to happen is our co-op's going to put in 200 or 112 individual water meters in our neighborhood. It's going to cost, I don't know, like $1 million, or I don't know what it's going to cost. But-
Director Brown is going to address.
Okay,
I was gonna suggest, because now I am somewhat familiar with, if not this particular units in that particular area. And you've already explained that you know what some of the options are, putting individual meters in. And I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that we take it offline and make sure that not only the individuals in the meeting today, but the association understands clearly what the options are. And then they can make a decision as a group or homeowners within the co-op as to what direction they want to go.
if I could just
Chair,
say
where is
one
it?
more thing about that before I sit down. If we put in 200 individual water lines over there, your transaction costs are going to go from having to face one water bill every month that always gets paid. We never don't pay our water bill over there, to having 200 individual water bills that suddenly you're going to have to chase after. You're going to have to read the meters. I think if there's an equitable solution here, it's not us installing 200 more, or how many, 1,000 more individual water readers over there for your guys' sake, because I know what a pain in the butt it is to chase down people to pay their water bills. So that's all I'll say. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry I'm so amateur at this, but I really appreciate what you guys do. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, what community is this?
John Henry.
Real quickly, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to take a point of personal privilege. The lady who introduced this gentleman, her name is Sally Beer. And she was one of the original organizers for the United Auto Workers at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Michigan, served many years as a statewide chair, representing thousands of men and women across the state of Michigan, and that's my home local. So please.
Well, Ms. Beer, thank you very much for your service. Let me say two things. Number one, Commissioner Kinlock has joined us. And number two, I want to recognize Commissioner Kinlock.
He joined us at 2:02.
Yes. Okay. So what communities is this co-op located?
This is Lafayette.
Okay. Okay.
They're not that many in the city.
Lafayette Park right over here,
Yeah.
and and the co-op structure it's probably facing a similar situation. There's co-ops all the way down Lafayette, all the way to Mount Elliott. On both sides of that street, those are co-op units. So all those people are probably facing a similar situation to what we just got with this bill, I'm
Okay,
guessing.
Mr. Director, can you definitely keep me in the loop on this issue, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is not complicated at all. We'll be able to,
There's a solution to
yes,
this.
and we've come up with it before with other units in the area. So but it needs to be taken offline to do it.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank you for that warm introduction from John Henry Davis. And just to say, we are the Joliet, Lafayette, LaSalle, and Nicollet cooperatives. We're here today from those cooperatives. And I was with John actually when we purchased our cooperative in the 90s. So thank you so much for hearing us. I'm retired now and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Sammy, is it Slater? Sater. Oh, come to the microphone, please. Good afternoon, Mr. Sater.
Good afternoon. My name is Sammy Sater. I also yielding to the previous comments. We weren't sure who was speaking today, but I'm a member of the Joliet Townhouse Cooperative and essentially yielding to my neighbor's comments that were just spoken. So I don't really have very much else to add, but thank you guys for hearing our issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Then I think these are folks online. Narelle Hemphill,
He's here.
she's here. Counselor?
Afternoon.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
I just want to thank the Board of Water Commissioners for your time today. And my name is Norel Hemphill. I work at Great Lakes Environmental Law Center. I work in coalition with We the People of Detroit on water affordability. And specifically for the last almost year, since May of last year, we've been working on the Lifeline Plan. So I want to start by thanking the Ombudsman for the work that he's doing with the Lifeline Plan, with devoting 3 attorneys to work on this project. It's been a long road, and I think that we're getting closer to what an affordability program looks like, and there's a long way to go. Last week at the Customer Service Committee, I raised some concerns about the way that this new policy was framing the responsibility of the ombudsman. And I want to thank the board and the commissioners for taking that under advisement and taking that section out so that it is clear that the ombudsman's power does come from the charter and then ordinance and not from its work with the Detroit Lifeline Plan. It's been a long road, like I said earlier, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done at this point. This is closer, it's getting a lot closer to where it needs to be. And there's a lot of people who are getting true help and getting those large arrearages that they had removed through their participation in this plan. So I do appreciate that a lot because we know there are people who are suffering from that, from the water burden. Lastly, I want to say that it hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of hard nights, a lot of impromptu meetings, a lot of work. But we do this work as stewards from community to make sure that community has the things that they need and the things that they deserve, because water is indeed a human right. And people are literally dying from lack of access to water. And it's not a problem that's happening far away, it's happening right here in Detroit. So again, thank you for the changes that you've made based on our recommendations. And we look forward to continuing to push this work forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Tina Starks from We the People Detroit. I'm slow up here because I have brand new trifocal glasses. And it takes some getting used to. Ms. Starks.
Hi, thank you to the Board of Water Commissioners for your time. My name is Tiana Starks.
Can
you hear
you're
me?
Speaking, and yes, speak into the microphone, please.
Thank you for your time today. My name is Tiana Starks and I'm with We the People of Detroit. I am the Communications Director there. I would like to take this time to commend the community of water justice advocates that have shown up for almost a year to continue to engage with DWSD and help to go through the intricacies of the Lifeline Plan as they are being worked out. Their commitment has definitely, I think, made the plan better. And I think that with continued vigilance from the community and engagement from DWSD, we will get to a point where we can agree on everything that's in the plan. Thanks to DWSD for taking our recommendations into consideration and making many of the updates that or revisions to the plan that we suggested. Specifically around the language about affordability and assistance and including definitions in the plan so that we can be clear what the differences between affordability and assistance are, especially as DWSD is continuing to search for funds to make sure that the program is sustainable for the long run. And lastly, I want to say that we just hope that the plan will continue to be implemented in the spirit of creating equity and understanding that sometimes community members will have hardships, and so that we're continuing to iterate and build out the hardship program. And honestly, just doing what's best for the residents of the city of Detroit and for the city itself. We hope that DWSD will continue to engage the community and water justice advocates as the policy evolves and the needs of our community evolves as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. James Griffin from Nicollet Co-op.
I think he stepped
He's-
outside
oh.
to talk to one of our staff members.
All right. Is he the gentleman that stepped up?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So he really has spoken. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to address the Board of Water Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, we have some hands online. First up, Cecily McClellan.
I'm sorry, the name again?
Cecily McClellan.
Ms. McClellan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank the Board Water Commissioners for this opportunity. Again, my name is Cecily McClellan. I'm the Director of Waterworks for We the People of Detroit. We the People of Detroit appreciated the opportunity to provided by DWSD for community support in making recommendations and amending the Detroit Lifeline policy. We believe the effort has improved the quality of the policy for the residents of the city of Detroit. We believe that the language recommended in the purpose under Section 2 related to plumbing indicates a commitment to providing plumbing services through the conservation and water audits provided by DWSD and a third-party administrator, Wayne Metro. The recommendation to add the definitions in 3, the distinction of water affordability versus assistance, has clarified the definition of the program. Although we continue to have differences in the allowable monthly CCFs for a family of 4, our recommendations being approximately 60 per day instead of 37.5, we appreciate DWSD increasing the water usage for families to additional 1125 gallons per family member over 4. We believe the hardship exemption has improved, however, the further improvement may be needed. We recognize that this is a living document that will evolve over time as the implementation warrants changes. We also reserve the right to have input during that process. I'd like to thank again DWSD for extending an opportunity to the community and we the people to make adjustments and changes. This program has had an impact on the residents of the city of Detroit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. McClellan. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the Board of Commissioners today?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Beulah Walker next.
Ms. Walker, welcome.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors, Commissioners. Hello, Director Brown. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I just want to say that Hydrate Detroit, we are still enrolling people in the Lifeline Plan. We are also assisting with the new staff over there at Wayne Metro. We got to have a meeting with Mia and a couple other people. We understand Ms. Robinson moved on. Also, I want to thank the Board of Water Commissioners for abiding by Robert Rules of Order. I want to thank them for giving us 3 minutes and what else? And we're just going to keep the ball rolling down the track. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ms. Walker. Is there anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have David Claxton.
Braxton?
Claxton.
Claxton? Miss or Mrs.?
David, I think she said.
I mean, Miss-
David.
David. David, how are you? Mr. Braxton? Unmute yourself. You have the floor. Is there anyone else? Let's keep Mr. Braxton on hold. We can come back to him.
Okay, yes, we have Miko Williams.
All right. I'm sorry. The name again, please.
D'Amico Williams, D'Amico Williams.
Oh, D'Amico? D'Amico,
Hi.
you have the
good
floor.
afternoon. Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. It's great to hear from all of you. I just want to commend this body and say thank you for working with Hydrate Detroit. Thank you for working with myself, Beulah Walker. We know it hasn't been an easy road, but we are very happy to be in a place where we can assist City of Detroit residents and keep the main goal, and making sure people have their water on and also access to affordable water that they can achieve. I just want to say thank you to Michelle Robinson for Wayne Metro. I understand she's moved on. We just want to thank her for her service, for working with us and our clients and making sure that everyone has been serviced and satisfied. She did go the extra mile, so I do want to thank her for her service. These torrential rains lately, have you seen these rains? This weather change. I just really want us to recognize that residents are still going through flooding. They're still going through damage and such. And sometimes they may not be able to report it because they're afraid that they may not get help or they may be denied. And, you know, there has to be something to help residents when we see large rains like Miss Lavinia Williamson. I'm still asking what has happened in fixing her infrastructure so that she doesn't fall into a flood in her driveway. And then, you know, well, we need to get back to infrastructure. Lately, we've been fighting about affordability. We've been fighting about all this, but we need to get back to the infrastructure. We need to get back to the good news of what the water crews have done. And so I'm seeing the pipes, I'm seeing the improvements in certain areas, but there still is a lot of work to be done. I would love to hear more good news about capital improvement, where we are today. Are we 70% complete? Are we 80% complete? You know, and how will these benefit the neighborhood? As well as good news in regards to people that did zero out their water bill debt. If the City of Detroit residents listening to the sound of my voice, I want to tell you right here, the water department has done everything they could do. I commend them and I support this Lifeline plan. You should get on the Lifeline plan too. Get that $18 water bill. Quit playing. Stop listening to those naysayers. Because let me tell you something, when it comes down to you and getting your water share, we're not trying to have no back and forth this summer. Let us have a productive summer. Let us get people enrolled. Let us include large swaths of people, no matter what their situation is. There's people that still don't know to this day. We need one more push, one more injection for the Lifeline plan, and let's make it a positive experience. Thank you for taking my comment. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair, next we have David Claxton.
Yes. Mr. Claxton?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. My name is David Claxton. I'm with Lifeline Christian Center Church. And we have a very particular problem. I came down in February and met with one of your workers. She was very, very helpful, a Constance Sloan. However, she was not able to really satisfy what I was really seeking. We did not have a registered meter in that building for almost 4 years. Back in 2019, So one of your workers came out and said we had to have a new part, plumbing part put in before they could put a new meter in. That was done. Your people came, installed a new meter. However, they never registered that meter. Now, moving forward, we came during the time of the pandemic. We were not in our building for almost 3 years, so there was no usage of water at that time. However, we were constantly getting these enormous bills. We've got a bill now of $3,200, $3,236. And we really would like to get some kind of assistance here. Now, after I met with Ms. Sloan, set up another repair person to come, they installed a new meter at that time. That was in February. And, at that time, I mean, with us not having a registered meter, I'm thinking that, those rearages would have been zeroed out. However, they have not, and we're constantly getting these enormous bills. And of course, like I said, we weren't in the church for better than 3 years. So no water was being used at that particular time. So I just wanted to make a plea to the board to take another look at this and see if there's some kind of, we're a very, very small congregation. I say small, it's extremely small. We've got a large building, but a small congregation. $3,200 is just really unreachable for us. So that's my plead. I wanted to actually come down and with you people in person, but I was told that I would have to do it online. So that's why I took time today to zero in and plead for some assistance.
All right. Thank you very much, Reverend.
Mr. Chair, I will get with Ms. Sloan and take a look at the situation and get back with the church as quickly as possible.
I certainly appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Lane Coleman has joined us virtually. And is there anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have last 3 numbers of the phone number is 973.
Phone number ending 973. Can you identify yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Michelle George. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and to our director and the honorable board. First of all, I do want to give kudos. It's good to hear Miko, and I'm thinking of the what's her name going to get me? Thinking of her that they're happy with what's going on in the community with the water, because that is critical right now. We're in the era of all of these fungal infections that are occurring because of the pandemic. There were some pathogens that took advantage of the pandemic. And so they ruled this ugly head. So when you see fungus, it's like Candida auris that are in several states, and they are in the hospitals across the city. It is very important because one of the things that prevent it from spreading in the environment is hand hygiene. So I do want to, thank you all, because I know when we had that mass water shut off before, hepatitis A was allowed to spread throughout the state of Michigan. And I was involved in that in terms of spreading, working with healthcare officials, working in certain places, trying to get patients, making sure they get their vaccinations and everything, hepatitis A. So thank you for that. Also, I would like to ask our director, Gary Brown, is he still having any problem with the land bank? I know last year he mentioned about the land bank. I was at one of the meetings selling homes in Detroit, and a lot of people came out with no pipes underneath. So I wanted to know if he was still having problems with that. I'm glad you are reaching out to certain people about the water and with the churches, because this is critical. We know, as someone stated, the body needs water. And I do understand, like, there is help for people, we have to, to pay our water bill, but also God holds us accountable, especially when those drainage fees get on his church, and those churches cannot afford it. And the church is a temple for God's people to help the broken heart and everything. And we don't want to be under God's judgment. I know we try to work the best we can. We still got that Great Lakes Water Authority that should not be existing under emergency management that may pressure you all to raise our water rates. So, but I do want to, all of the meetings is not always downing everybody, but we do care about the community, because God, at the purpose of his heart, is people. So we make sure we hold those who God put in authority, that you all do right by the people. So I wanted to get that out. Thank you for that. And hand hygiene is very important as we battle. I'm in this battle with these pathogens. So as we battle these pathogens, just to make sure the community is being cared for. But that's one of the things I wanted to ask Mr. Brown. Is he getting any, not that he would share that, but is he having any problems anymore with the land bank with those pipes?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, this board put $1 million contract in place that the land bank could access and allow any of the people that they had sold homes to access that contract. And I'm happy to say that all of the homes that were in question have been dealt with, got new lines, including Mr. Payne. And so I'm happy to report that we're in good standings with the land bank.
Good standing with us. Are there anybody else would like to address the board?
Mr. Chair, there are no more hands raised on virtual public comment.
Mr. Chair, can I just make just one, I do want to thank We the People and Hydrate Detroit, all the advocates that took the time to review the policy that we're going to be asking you to vote on here shortly. It truly is a better document because of their involvement. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank just a few people on my staff who put many, many hours into it. And I know I'll miss many, but certainly Deb Poshpich was the architect of that document and the person that's working with the community to get their input. Nikki's worked on it, certainly Matt Phillips and Brian Peckinpah, and many others. And the point is, working together, we have a better document. As I promised that if we work together, we will find sustainable funding to make this program resilient. And we've done that. We always will need more, but we've for the near future, the program is funded. And so we all have said this many times, that document is living and breathing. And when we know better, we'll do better. And if more information comes to us through our own customer service center or through our advocates, we'll make the adjustment to the policy and we'll bring it back to the board and we'll have it amended again. And so, again, thank you to the advocates for their input. And they've truly done a service to Detroiters that are in need.
All right, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge Commissioner Forte has joined us virtually, so all hands are on deck. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, but as I was letting you know that there were no hands raised, someone did raise their hand
Okay.
in public comment virtually, and it looks like they just put it down. So thank you.
Do we have anybody else?
She raised it back. I'm sorry. Victoria Long.
All right, Ms. Long, please unmute yourself. Can you hear us?
Hi, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. I did have it up earlier. I don't know how it went back down. Thank you and for your time today, for the director, for the Board of Water Commissioners. My name is Victoria Loon. I'm the policy manager for We the People of Detroit, working on our state and federal policy education efforts. And I, of course, want to echo my colleagues' remarks and our appreciation to this body for working with us and our community allies and looking forward to continuing that work. Also to Director Brown's appreciation for your team as well. Thank you. and my only comment today is just, a reminder as we move forward to, in response to community input that comes to this body at meetings like this, to continue the level of decorum that we've had today. In the past, I've seen eye-rolling condescension, assumptions about what $18 can mean for a household. I think I've even seen speakers need to call out a member of this body to apologize to a previous speaker. And I know in moments of heated moments, when it comes to discussing pertinent and critical issues to the community like this, we can, tensions can rise. But I hope that as we're moving forward, we can continue this level of, again, decorum and communication between ourselves and this body. So thank you again so much. And that's my time.
Thank you very much.
There are no other hands raised, Mr. Chair.
All right, is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Hearing none, then we will close public participation. And we will move on to item 6. Are there any items from the commissioners?
Yes, Mr.
Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I had just wanted to note that I had sent a couple of items over to the director as well as to Marion, just would like them to be indicated.
We've already been out on Field Street and those fire hydrants are absolutely working.
Are you
So
serious?
we talked to the
Did you
lady
call
that
the
gave
person?
you, we talked to her. She said that she went out and checked and said that they weren't working well. We sent out a crew and we checked all the fire hydrants and they're absolutely
I appreciate that.
operational and working. So we wanted to make sure we did it before you got here to the meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate
been-
that. I can't wait to talk to her.
It's because of Gary's police experience. He's conscious of response time.
Well,
Any items from other commissioners? All right, then let's move on to communication. We have items 7A and B. Receipt of correspondence. Is there a motion? Commissioner Davis,
Motion to receive and file, Mr. Chair.
is there support? Any questions or discussion with regard to any of the items of communication? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that is adopted. Unfinished business, we have none. So we now move on to the approval of the consent agenda, which includes items 9A through F. Let me explain that committees of this commission consider in detail many items typically related to the letting of contracts. And there is thorough discussion at those meetings. They come to us packaged as a consent agenda, which requires unanimous consent. So let me ask, does any commissioner wish to remove any item from the consent agenda to be considered separately? Hearing none, then a motion is in order to approve the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Blackman.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. I believe all these items come from the Finance Committee. And Commissioner Forte, who is the chairman of that committee, I understand that it comes with that committee's recommendation. And I'll answer my own question. I'm on the committee. It comes with the committee's recommendation. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, then, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, items 9A through F, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion is approved. We'll now move to new business. And the first item here, some people I met on the way in, the American Water Resources update, I believe. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm so delighted to be here. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, commissioners, and gentlemen of the people of the public. I'm here in representation of American Water Resources, and we're here to give you an update on the program we have the pleasure of working with you on. With me today is Sharon Doherty, who is our manager of the program with you. And also with me today is our director of the program, Jaleesa Nelson. We won't put her on the spot because it is her first time out, and I'd hate to do that to her. But I will turn it over to Sharon, and we'll give you an update on some of the key elements of the program and the progress we've made.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. And again, thank you for having us here today. Hey, I'm just going to go through a few things. I won't even touch on the agenda here. We'll get to them, but we're going to go over program performance, some improvements we're making. We're going to provide you some of the kind of overview of what is covered under the terms and conditions, as well as some customer testimonials that we've received. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, first, I want to go over the program performance, and this is really the program to date. So we began in May of last year, and these results are through March of this year. Currently, we have almost 18,000 Detroit residents enrolled in our programs, and they're enrolled in a little over 18,000 different products. The difference there is that most residents are actually enrolled in a water and sewer combination protection program, but some have purchased those individually, and that's the difference between those numbers. To date, we have actually handled a little over 1,700 claims, with completing and approval of about 76% of those claims.
I'll go through it. Yep.
I'm sorry. Was there a question? Okay. And we actually have handled about 3,700 calls for customer service. Those calls now are 100% being handled by the Detroit-based customer service reps. And to date, we've had about 30 escalations, and then very happy to report that Detroit residents have rated us with a customer satisfaction result of over 94%.
Was that rate of claims per enrollment expected? Was it?
As far as the approval rate, is that what?
The
Oh, you're
claims-
just
the claims
just the
rates.
volume of claims. I think it's actually normally a little high at the beginning of a program. You have people as they come to understand what the terms and conditions are. I think that might be a little high. We're also going to go over something else that we believe has inflated that, and it's due to the rainwater backup. We've got some inflated claims because of that, which also deteriorates the approval rate. And we're going to get into that in a little more detail as well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, one of the things I wanted to touch on is really just the value of our products that they bring to the Detroit residents. We know that making our products available to every homeowner is one of the key things in keeping that cost low so that they can live with that cost every day. We do have very competitive pricing. The water line protection program, if purchased individually, is $249. The sewer line protection program individually is $549. And if they purchase that combo plan, it's $798. One of the key things there is that there are no limits on the coverages that they're provided there. If you look at a lot of other providers, not only is the price point much higher, but there's also caps on the coverage that they have under the plans. So we're very happy about the plans that we're able to provide to Detroit residents. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this I think is really where the rubber meets the road, I guess so to say. To date under the program, we have saved Detroit residents over $1 million that they otherwise would have paid for these types of repairs and replacements out of their pockets. We really anticipate by the time we hit that 1-year mark of handling claims, that'll probably be in excess of $1.25 million. And again, it's really about eliminating the need for the homeowners to cover these expenses out of their pockets. Okay, next slide, please. We've talked about Detroit-based resources handling issues for Detroit residents. And we do have the Detroit-based customer service reps. We have 5 in place. And again, they are handling all customer-related calls that come from Detroit residents, and they are all living within the city of Detroit. Contractors, we have 4 contractors in place right now. I'm happy to say that 3 of the 4 came as recommendations from DWSD initially. We do have one of those contractors that we have on pause right now, and that's related to some safety issues that we want to make sure that they're actually conducting work safely. So we've got them on pause until we can kind of bring them back into some safety requirements. Okay, next slide. Just hitting on the water line protection and sewer line protection plan and what is actually covered. Of course, we're going to pay to repair any leaking or broken water line if it's resulting from that normal wear and tear. We've talked about the fact that it's unlimited coverage amounts, so there's no cap on the coverage. And really the coverage for their water line, it starts at that shut off or the meter inside the home out to where it connects to the utility. There are some key things that are not covered under the water line protection plan, and that would be the water meter itself, the pit, the vault, those types of other supporting mechanisms. It's really about the line itself. Of course, there are more details in the complete terms and conditions, but that kind of is at that high level.
Commissioner Blackman.
I was just curious as to what you would define as, you said normal wear and tear, normal wear and usage. What would not be considered normal?
Absolutely. I think the most common thing that we're probably all familiar with is that tree, that lovely tree that gets planted in the yard, and the roots grow and they invade the lines. And ultimately, the older the lines, they're going to invade that line and cause a breakage. It could also be things like shifting in dirt and things like that, but trees or roots are one of the most common things that actually go into that. Normal wear and tear is again about the age, right? And the older the infrastructure, the more at risk it's going to be about breaking down and just eroding and having maybe a leak in it. Okay.
So this could be an existing tree that was there at the time.
It could have been there before the line was put in. It could have been put in after the line. And again, the older the infrastructure is, the more of those issues you're going to come across, which is why these programs are so, important for the residents.
Very good.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, next slide, please.
I mean, I just want to be clear about a private water main. So we kind of consider the water main the city's asset, and the lateral sewer line or water line is half of it is private, half of it is public. Is that what you mean? The portion
believe that.
between the stop box and the meter?
Yeah, I
is
believe
the
this is
private
that part that's taken out. In other words, when they're saying it does not include, this is something that maybe isn't connected and it's been put in, privately. It's not, and I'm not sure, Kathleen, if you have a better understanding of that the private line.
Yeah, generally speaking, some of these are trunk lines, and we see this more in New York City, where there's shared lines that are by more than one resident.
Yes,
So you're not
the shared line, I think, is the key there. Does that help, Director Brown?
I think it does. I think it helps me, but I'm not quite sure if the board. But what the board understands is the line between the house and the water main, from the house to the stop box, is the owner's portion of the line. From the stop box to the water main is the city's part of the line.
so
So when you say the private, you're really talking about a private line coming into that house, not between the stop box and the.
Right.
So what they're saying is anything that I guess that the water department says is the responsibility of the owner that is not controlled under the custody of the public. Is that it?
It's not
That's correct.
really.
Okay, yeah, that's what I get what they're saying. We determine what is private, what is the responsibility of property owner. They're saying that they cover that. Each community is different. They just mentioned something in New York, which was, I don't think we have often here.
That is correct.
Okay, I'm clear.
We can absolutely follow up with a little bit more detail on that, just to make sure everybody is crystal clear, because education, which I'll get to on a later slide, is key, really.
Commissioner Davis, and
Can you give an example of a common branch sewer line in the city of Detroit?
I don't know that I can say specifically in Detroit, because again, some of these things are going to vary by community, right? I don't know for sure how how prevalent that is in the Detroit community. I don't know if you have further insight.
No, I think we'd like to take that away and come back to you with that answer, just to give you specifics from our team.
And we can actually go back and verify too. Like when I look at claims, I don't think we've had any claims denied because of these circumstances. They're in the terms and conditions, but that doesn't mean they're a common occurrence in this community, right? They may be more prevalent like in a New York or in another area.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, thank you. How long have you been in practice already here? How long?
This program started in May of 2022, last year, so not quite a year,
So you have like 1 year?
almost a year.
Okay, and in that year, how many people have actually applied for any kind of assistance? Do you have an idea? I know that they.
As far as enrolled in the program, almost 18,000.
Okay, so we have so many. Then the other question is that, like, say a customer actually sent in that application in the check and whatever. Is there a card that they send back in the mail, or do they automatically have to remember that they registered, or?
They get a confirmation back and they receive the terms and conditions so that they can read through and understand what is covered. So they get information back. It's not just, okay, they send it in and maybe it got processed, maybe it didn't. They get information back from us indicating that they're covered. Because sometimes, and a lot of times they're setting up a.
So I guess the question is, how would they know their coverage? Like, say my mother, if she did it, she couldn't remember that she did it or not, how, and I would be checking for her. Did you sign up, Mama? You know what I'm saying?
You
It's
mean at
just-
the time, maybe if she had a claim, how would she know if she's enrolled? Is that?
So you would only know if we put in a claim?
No. Actually, they would be making their payments monthly, right? So that would be the active thing that they know that they're enrolled in a program because they're having to make those monthly payments. With us, they're not actually on the utility bill. So that's the main way they're going to have that visibility into being enrolled in the program.
So is there a website or something that we could go to and then look to see if they've signed up or something like that?
I believe on the AWR USA, can they see the enrollments?
Yeah, so let me just kind of give you a little bit more. So we do send terms and conditions so that people will have clarity
Can
on
we have that?
that.
That we can, yeah, I would like.
And those are available online. And then we have a call center that can answer any questions about, history, how long you've been online. And we will get back to you on whether it's visible on our American Water Resources website. I believe it is, so that there's multiple ways to make sure, because we definitely want people to be
And Ms.
clear and
and-
use the product.
And Mr. Director, do you think everybody that's a resident of the city of Detroit that gets water has signed up?
We have more than 200,000 accounts and they have 18,000.
Only because I think it's so important when we think
Less than
about our
10%.
residents in the city of Detroit and how old the pipes are. It's almost inevitable that something's going to happen to a house that's 100 years old. So the educational process, I think, is up to, the websites, we encourage you. A lot of people don't have checking accounts, how can you pay? There's a lot of things that come up when you're thinking about people that are not always in the finance that they should be. That's all I was thinking of, that it's important that it's up to us is to make sure we need to encourage, we can't force them, but we
Yeah.
need to encourage them and maybe get a hold of the churches so that they can talk to the communities.
Yeah.
And I would do that at the nonprofits that we work with. I think it's very important.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I just remind you that when I ask you to approve this contract, we said that we would give it some time
Okay.
to make sure that the promises that were being made were being kept.
Okay.
I'm glad to see that $1 million has been spent on fixing homes because those are homeowners that could not afford it. And quite certainly, this board, if you're happy with the way this program is being run, you're not hearing a lot of citizens' complaints, the complaints that you do hear are being managed well, then we can always go back and I think it's safe to say that their business would quadruple if I collected the fee in the water bill.
I
But
thought
we
we
didn't
asked that
want,
at the
we
beginning.
didn't want to get that far, that deep
Right.
in with the company until
Right. Yeah.
we could have them come in front of us and start. Yeah, and so we're going slow. And so far, I'm happy to say we've worked out the issues that have come up. And they're here to report out to you, and we'll get another couple of reports, maybe quarterly. Not sure that they have to fly in to do it, or we can have them Zoom in, give us reports, and then we can make a decision if we want to continue or if we want to get deeper in and put DWSD's name on this product. That's the concern.
Commissioner Davis, then Commissioner Kinlock.
Two things. I think it was slide 5 where you said that Detroiters had saved $1 million.
Yes,
How is that calculated?
that's calculated by the claims actually that were paid. So
Okay.
that's actually the monies that were put out to cover those repairs or replacements.
Okay. And the other question is, can you tell us what a private sewer main would be? What is that?
Yeah, I think these are a couple things that are in our consistent terms and conditions between Philadelphia, New York, and some of these other places. And I'd love to actually come back to you with some examples of if this exists in your jurisdiction, and an example of where that might be, just to really, again,
Yeah.
continue that education.
Right,
And
right.
forgive me, but I forgot, my name is Kathleen O'Hara. I was so excited about being here. I'm the Senior Vice President. I'm responsible for all of our partnerships. So I'm really delighted to be here, and we are taking notes so that we can get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a street right across 375 called Navarette. And there are townhouses on that street. That street's private.
Okay.
So the water main, the sewer main that's in the street, it's private. It's owned by,
The
there was,
co-op.
there was an easement that was, the city council approved back in 1962, which means they're responsible for it.
Mhm.
One of our board members lives around the golf course.
Right.
It's a private street, and therefore the sewers are private, and the homeowner's responsibility,
The entire sewer.
yes, and the street, and
Okay.
yeah. So when you make it private, then you take ownership of it.
Everything down.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like some of the folks that came in today, they bought these homes in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
And now most of them are retired.
Right.
And a lot of this infrastructure and things, it needs maintenance. And it's a problem, so. But we do have several private water mains as well as sewers in the city. Not
Okay.
many.
Thank you for that insight, Director Brown. I knew that there may be some, but not being aware, and it sounds like that a lot of those should be aware of their circumstances as well.
They're not many. It's a rarity when you.
Okay, okay. So again, kind of touching on the sewer line protection, we're gonna pay for any repairs, clogs, or blockages that impact that flow of wastewater into the sewer line. Emphasizing again, unlimited program, so there's no cap on the coverage for that. It does start at the external part of the home that connects then into the main. And we've kind of touched on some of those things that aren't covered necessarily, whether it's the tap or a private line. And again, in all cases, the terms and conditions, there's going to be additional detail. Okay, next slide, please. In talking about the terms and conditions, again, it's really that the plans cover the cost of repairs and there's no limit on those dollar amounts, but the terms and conditions do have some limitations, and we've touched on a little bit of those today. Looking at kind of a high level, it's really about making sure, one, that their coverage is in effect at the time. There is a 30-day grace period when they initially sign up for the plan. And then again, of course, it has to be normally incurred because of normal wear and tear, such as like leaks, breaks caused by tree roots. We touched on that. Some things that our program does not cover is we do not cover inside the home. So we don't have any kind of protection available right now for Detroit Water and Sewer customers for the actual inside the home. Doesn't mean that's not available in the future. We don't cover any kind of preventative maintenance. There would not be any coverage for upgrades to meet code. I will emphasize though, that if we're in the course of doing a repair and there's a requirement to come up to code, we will make it up to code as part of that repair. We aren't going to be able to cover any damages caused by a third party or a homeowner, or of course, anything that occurred prior to the effective date of the plan. Okay. All right, next slide, and I will pass that off to Kathleen.
Thank you, Sharon. So just to circle back to one of the conversations that we started talking about, the education. It is important for homeowners, as a homeowner myself, until working in this category, I wasn't clear on my ownership or my responsibility and the community's responsibility. So it is important to us. And with your endorsement, your blessing, we will continue to come out to community events and things like that to make sure with our field folks, to make sure that we can really help educate homeowners, because that is important for us. This diagram is an example of things we can do to further educate the community to their responsibility and make sure they're prepared. Next slide, please. So this is really to talk about our, do we have a question? Okay. So this is really to speak to our field organization. So some of the things we've done recently to really increase our responsiveness to make sure that we're meeting the needs of homeowners is we've restructured our field to be a regional structure. And so what that means is we have 3 regional managers. One, his name is on the slide, is Cesar Martinez, and he is responsible for your particular region. And he is our point of contact regardless of the situation to make sure we get it resolved. We know from experience that this will make sure that we can be as responsive as possible to anything that happens. They are responsible for each of the contractors we have the benefit of working with and making sure that we're transparent with them on how their performance is, where they need to improve. In addition, we have 3 ways that homeowners can get to us. They can call our call center. It is 24/7. It is supported here with residents of Detroit. Of course, after hours, in order to make sure that we're always available, we may send the calls to our Illinois call center. But generally speaking, almost every call that is taken here. The second way people can reach us to make sure that we get taken care of their claims is we do have an online claims form. And so that allows people to, if they don't really want to speak to somebody, to file their claim online. And there is a quick response time to that. And finally, the third is chat. We use chat quite a bit, again, to make sure that we're having the dialogue back and forth and answering questions. All 3 of these are ways for us to make sure that we're responsive on the claims. Next slide, please. The next thing we wanted to just speak to is, I think Sharon mentioned that we had some of the not covered by terms and conditions due to rainwater. And so with that, we wanted to make sure, again, that customers are continued, that our residents of Detroit are really continued to understand that and don't waste their time making phone calls and waiting and getting frustrated. So we have introduced some what we call probing questions, which help customers to understand what's covered and what's not covered. And so what those are like is, is there rain in your area? Is there water, is the water dirty or clean? So these have been developed with our partners here in Detroit, with those claim agents, and what they've learned over time. And we continue to do these. These are not rote questions, but as we have a rainy season, we use probing questions to make sure, again, we can get to identify quickly for the homeowner whether or not it is covered so that they can move forward and not get frustrated. Next slide, please. This is really to talk about our escalation process. So regardless of how well we all work, we do know that in the world today, everything isn't what I call a happy path. Occasionally things aren't standardized and something will happen that won't quite work, whether it be a miscommunication or what have you. So we do have an escalation process in place. And what that looks like is we have a form and it goes into a system that allows us to make sure that the escalation comes in. It is assigned to one of our customer advocacy group. And that customer advocacy group sees that through from start to finish. And it is a closed loop. So we can see that we can go in, Sharon, the team can go in at any time and make sure that the escalations are being taken care of, that we get back to the customer. We are pleased to say that usually within 48 hours, we are getting back to and resolving the issue. So it's important for us to, I think we all know that the longer a customer service issue or escalation goes on, the worse things are. It's all about communication. So that is the current process that we use in order to make sure that we're handling escalations. Next slide, please.
Wow, that's.
you have, you will hear about things that don't go right, the unhappy paths. What happens also, though, that is right, you don't always get to hear about. So we did include one slide here just to give you some of the feedback from your Detroit residents, from homeowners. You'll notice that the two in the middle and the one on the right are really about those providers and the experience of the customer when that provider is in the home, their knowledgeableness, their thoroughness, the leaving that homeowner more aware of their own home's infrastructure. So we get, every time we complete a claim, we send a survey out to a homeowner, and we can share these with you every month if you'd like, just to give you some feedback from the good that's happening, in addition to the escalations that are happening. Next slide. Last slide I have here is as Sharon mentioned, we do have water and sewer coverage, but in addition to that, our company does have other types of coverage to help support homeowners. The cost of home repair is expensive and not something everybody thinks about when they step into home ownership. And we do have other coverage. And I know that in many cases, the not covered by our terms and conditions are actually things that are clogs inside the home, a clogged toilets or a bathtub. And so we do have things like that. I know we're not ready to talk about it, but we would be remiss not to share that with you. And again, as Director Brown said, as we continue to grow with you to make sure that everything is working well, might be something we want to consider in the future. I believe with that, the next slide, we are open for questions.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes. Couple of questions I have is the denials. Can you tell us instances, the unhappy camper, I believe that you sort of, I'm paraphrasing, so what are some of the examples of denials? And how many denials had you had to issue out?
I think I'll start it and then Sharon will build on it. Early in the program, there tends to be a little bit of more not covered by terms and conditions. And that's really just an education process. So we expect that. We know that that will come down. Tends to be the types of things are if you have signed up for the program and it hasn't been 30 days, sometimes that sort of our pre-existing condition can be one of them. Many times it was raining and it's not really a sewer water issue, it's a rainwater issue. And then I know another one that tends to be is that in-home plumbing, the difference between what is sewer and water and what is actually your internal plumbing. Sharon, you might be able to cover a few more.
Yeah, I think a couple other examples to that might be, as we were looking through what is not covered, maybe the claim actually was involving the tap. Okay, so we talked about how the tap isn't covered, or it could be there was an issue with maybe there were no meter shut off or something like that. It could be a pre-existing condition. It's going to fall into a lot, those categories are going to be the high level ones. But we do know right now, as Kathleen alluded to, the fact of we had a lot of claims that were opened about rainwater backup. So I think if we are able to kind of deter those off and get those claims not open from the very beginning, we're going to have a better customer experience and you're going to see a much higher rate of approval of the claims that are submitted.
And let me ask you, so does this I guess service, is it only allowed to individuals who have water service turned on?
You do have to be actively connected to the utility, yes.
Okay, my question to the director. So I know, because we did talk about the question of whether or not they would be able to pay it, be added to their bills. I mean, you're seeing the information. I'm not sure you've probably seen it before we saw it. We know the amount of individuals who have, specifically in Detroit and in the older communities, where trees, basically have trees, overgrown trees, the roots are causing problems. And just listening to some of the reasons and areas that they've covered, or reasons for them, I guess covering claims. So how long are we looking or wanting to assess and evaluate? I know before we put our name on anything, we are, the city of Detroit, so we don't want to just throw our name on anything. But at what point do you think it would be suitable for us to consider the actual collecting of those fees?
I think within the next 6 to 9 months would be a
That's for
reasonable
reasonable. I
amount
think,
of
yes.
time
Okay.
to do an assessment and then look at what we want to do with this contract, whether we want to expand it or not.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes, this is for Director Brown. This is a concern that I have. I'm concerned about our customer who doesn't really know that they have a private sewer line. Okay? And they live in one of these areas where the street is blocked off, or there's a gate, or there's an easement that's been granted, and they buy this coverage. And something happens, and years down the road, they get told, yes, you've had this coverage for a number of years, but you're on one of these private lines.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I don't want to confuse water lines from sewer lines.
That's true.
Water lines are where the private side of that, the sewer line from the basement of the customer's house all the way to the connection of our sewer main is the customer's responsibility, and that's what's being warranted.
Right.
And so, one of the things that I would ask at the next meeting is that they break down the claims between water lines and sewer lines.
Mhm.
Because I would suggest we don't see very many water lines, and the state of Michigan requires DWSD to replace if a customer's water line breaks. We're required, if it's lead, to replace it, both the public and the private side. And so we know we have between 80 and 100,000 of those lines that even, that's the piece that I don't think customers realize, that the water line doesn't break very often. I haven't seen very many of those at all. And if it's lead, and then, you know, that if these houses were built prior to 1945, which the majority of our stock was, they're lead, then we're going to replace the line if it breaks. DWSD is going to be required to replace it, and we're doing it right now. And so the real risk, and I have this policy, and when I made the decision to go with both the water and the sewer portion of the policy, I'm really just, it's the sewer that's of risk to me, not the water side of the,
Right.
because I have a lead service line, and if it breaks, I'm going to call DWSD and say, the governor said you're going to fix it.
Right.
And Director Brown, you are correct in the assumption on the percentage of sewer line claims.
Yes.
If I just look at the first quarter of this year, of 168 claims that we solved, 149 were sewer related. So you're spot on with that.
And you know, I've been in the city all my life, and I've snaked my line out as often as anybody at the table. I've never not gotten roots out of it. I mean, that's never not been, I can show you pictures that I live in Sherwood Forest. We like our trees. I mean, they're going to be tree roots in those lines.
So let me make sure I understand you. So you mentioned an area that everything under that ground is theirs.
Not everything.
Well, not everything, but water, the sewer line.
Sewer line.
The sewer line. So what would prevent, let's say there's 100 people in that association or in that co-op or condo association. What would prevent Mrs. Jones from buying sewer line protection, having a problem, and then down the road, the policy says you don't have any sewer line protection? What would prevent that from happening?
Nothing would prevent it from happening. I would suggest that in those cases that I've dealt with around the golf course, I've met with the president of the association. We've met with the homeowners association, and everybody that understands that that's a private line. And so if they were to purchase it, it's not that they don't know that they have a private line.
Well, I'm looking, I know there's got to be a bunch of those. You know, I would assume as a rule, if it's a gated area,
Yeah.
it may very well be a private sewer line. What I'm really looking to do is protect our customers. If we could identify to American Water Resources, the ones that we know about,
Yes.
and so don't take their money.
Yeah. and
Don't
it-
sell them a sewer line policy if you know that they have a private line.
Okay.
Absolutely.
we-
I would say that if we will definitely not market to folks who have no ability to take it, to use the product. In addition to which, if somebody still does sign up, we find there's no way we could have ever covered them, we will refund.
Okay, we will identify the areas of the city that have private neighborhood sewer lines.
Yeah.
Very good.
And we'll report it to the board and we can send a copy to American.
Very good.
Commissioner Garcia?
Good point.
I'm trying to think. So I have a question only because I was looking at their website. So whatever people that signed up and paid their money, is it paid monthly or is it just one time?
Well, I paid yearly.
Okay.
You have the
yearly.
option of
Okay.
paying a one-time fee, $98, I think, or something a
Yeah.
year, or monthly. That's your option.
Okay. And the monthly cost was $10 a month, right? Or something like that?
$7.95 for if you're
Not-
purchasing the water and sewer, it's $7.95.
$7.95, but that was just for the.
That's water
Water
and
and
sewer.
sewer.
If you do just the water, I believe it's $2.95, and then just the sewer, I believe is $5.95.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just needed to, okay, thank you.
And, you know, and there are other products that are marketing in Detroit that
Mhm.
people should understand. It's their responsibility to do their homework and understand which product is best for them. We're just saying, we're very clearly saying that in the RFP process, we looked at this company. We checked other cities that they were working in. They had the best price. And there were some other factors too. And so this is the one that we're gonna go with. But at the same time, at community meetings, I make it clear to the community that it's their responsibility to ultimately shop around and find the product that's best for them. This is the one that I use. This is the one that DWSD, but it's their responsibility to do that.
Are there any other questions? Well, we thank you for coming and when should we get a future update?
Every quarter.
Yeah.
Every quarter? Okay. Well, then see you in about 3 months.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next is security update.
Mr. Chair, be safety. Safety is first.
Safety.
We'll wait till after this.
Good afternoon.
You want me to move you up on the agenda? Mr. Chair, I'd like the COO to have a conversation with our friends from American Water Works,
Okay.
but he has a presentation further in the agenda. I know I kicked him to the curb once. I'm not kicking him to the curb a second time. I'm just asking, could we move Sam Smalley's presentation up so that he could go meet with
Yes.
folks that may have to catch planes?
Yes.
and- Drinking water, yeah.
With unanimous consent, we'll amend the agenda and ask Mr. Smalley to come
Yeah.
to the podium.
I was gonna meet with him.
Okay. Mhm.
F5, please.
That was my appointment. 4:50.
We ready, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Sam Smalley, Chief Operating Officer, here to give you the 2024 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Project Plan. DWSD is seeking low-interest loans from the state of Michigan through their DWSRF Loan Assistance Program. We have two projects that we are proposing, WS 725, Project A, and another project, Project B. The project will be typical of water main construction, including excavating existing water mains, installing pipes and appurtenances, rehabilitating pipelines. Of course, replacement of any lead service lines encountered as part of the project, pressure testing, disinfection, backfilling, and restoration of any hard or soft surfaces impacted during the project.
Mr. Chairman,
It could be done without a board.
closer to the mic if you could. I can hardly hear you.
All of the work will be performed within the right of way. And the projects are necessary for DWSD to be able to continue to provide safe, reliable drinking water. There are, of course, temporary impacts due to construction, but we have minimized those through our contract documents. We anticipate no adverse impacts on any historical, archaeological, geographic, or cultural issues. The project plan describes the specific water mains that are in need of replacement or rehabilitation. This project is estimated at $26 million, 12.5 million for Project A and 13 million for Project B. Now, this is a low interest loan request. However, the city of Detroit is well positioned to receive funding based on us being a severely disadvantaged community. This allows us to pick a repayment term of 30 to 40 years. And it also enables us to be eligible for principal forgiveness. We received 100% principal forgiveness on a $10 million loan that we are using to replace lead service lines throughout the city of Detroit. Project AWS 725 is proposing to replace nearly 31,000 linear feet of vintage cast iron water main ranging from sizes 6 inches to 12 inches. Again, this is estimated at a $12.5 million price tag. We anticipate approximately 458 lead services, and it's located in Midtown Cultural Center, Medical Center, all in District 5, as well as Barton McFarland in District 7. These are the specific streets that will be improved, the water mains in the streets in District 7, the ones that are highlighted in gold. And these are the specific streets in District 5 that would be affected by this project. Project B that I described is the same replacement and rehabilitation in Districts 3 and 7. This is nearly 32,000 linear feet of vintage cast iron main, also 6 inches through 12 inches in diameter. We anticipate replacing 475 lead services, and this is at a cost of 13.5 million. The locations are in Dexter, Linwood, Davison, and Buffalo Charles. These are the specific streets in D5, along with Project B. And these are the specific streets in District 3. Now to talk about the schedule. We are asking the board for approval of the draft project plan today. We will then, if approved, we will go to GLWA's board on May 24th for their approval. We will submit our final project plan to Eagle before the end of May. We anticipate advertising this project in January of 24 with a construction start of April of 24. So we are requesting that the full board approve and allow us to move forward. Well, apologies, but we're at this point right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Smalley? And I would ask that item F, someone would make a motion? On page 6. No,
Mr. Chairman.
page 4 of
Oh,
the agenda.
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Chair, are we voting on this item?
I believe we're being asked to approve it, yes.
Well,
So item F,
but we need the full motion read.
Full
If we
motion
get rid
rate,
of
what page is it on?
70,
It's on
on
7.
page 70.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chair, on page 7. Okay. And that's- Okay, page 7, I'm looking at. Okay, 3, 4. Do you have the motion in front of you? 5, 6, 7. Okay, if someone. She said 7-0. I thought you said 7. Okay, here. Okay, Mr. Chair, let me read the motion. Mr. Chair,
yes,
whereas.
Commissioner.
Whereas Detroit Water and Sewage Department and the Great Lakes Water Authority recognize the need to make improvements to its existing water distribution system that are owned and operated by the city of Detroit and that they are physically located within the city of Detroit limits. Whereas DWSD has prepared a drinking water state revolving fund project plan, which recommends water main replacement and associated appurtenances, including removal of certain lead service lines in the Bart McFarland Cultural Center, Medical Center, and Midtown neighborhoods in the city of Detroit. Further referenced as WS 725, and whereas DWSD has prepared a drinking water state revolving fund project plan, which recommends water main replacement and associated appurtenances, including removal of certain lead service lines in the Buffalo Charles division and Dexter Linwood neighborhoods in the city of Detroit, further referenced as WSTBD, and whereas said project plan was presented at the public meeting held on Wednesday, April 19, 2023, and all public comments have been considered and addressed. And whereas DWSD formally adopted said project plan and agreed to implement the identified selected alternative of water main and lead service line replacements as described in said document and evidenced by DWSD resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the Detroit Water and Sewage Department formally adopts and said project planning document and agrees to implement the selected project plan. Be it further resolved that the Detroit Water and Sewage Department Director, a position currently held by Gary Brown, is designated as the authorized representative for the activities associated with the project referenced above, including the submittal of said project planning document as the first step in applying to the state of Michigan for a drinking water state revolving fund loan to assist in the implementation of the said alternative. I so move the adoption.
Support?
Support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments?
And Mr. Chair, we need to do a roll call.
Okay. Let us call the roll.
Chairman Einhauser,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blackman,
Yes,
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes.
All right, the matter is adopted. Thank you very much, Mr. Smalley. With unanimous consent, I am also going to ask that the agenda be revised so that the next item we consider is the resolution on our rates, which is item D under new business. We've had a presentation regarding the proposed rates at the Finance Committee. We had a hearing on it. Do we need to have a formal presentation or shall we
No.
just entertain discussions or comments? Commissioner Kinlock.
Okay, what page is it on?
That's on page 52.
Page 52, thank you. Okay. Okay, 52, right. All right.
And,
Okay.
you know, a comment is in order with regard to the proposed rate increases are vary from category to category, but the highest one is, as I recall, is 3.2%. And that's very reasonable considering the history of rate increases and the fact that we're in an inflationary period of time. And so there's no question the proposed rates are very, very reasonable. The other issue is these rates do not affect what is charged for people in the Lifeline plan.
Correct,
The
okay.
$18 that the tier 1 people receive is not going up 3.2%. It's staying right at $18. That said, are there any questions or comments? Then I think a motion is in order.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have a
Okay,
question,
okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
And the drainage rates over here is per acres. It goes from what, 2.5% increase? Give me an example, Mr. Director, what are we talking about? It's
For residential homes, the first thing to understand is if they have less than 0.02 acres, which many of our customers do, we don't charge them anything. Nothing. You have to have more than 0.02. The average.
not the average in the city of
No,
Detroit, though, as a rule. is it?
That's many, but not the average. The average is 0.2. And so I think the bill is, residential is somewhere between $14 and $15.
But that would be for the whole total, not per, right? That would be it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the increase is $17.27.
Yeah, and is this the girl on the
2.5.
line? He has the exact amount for, he knows what the exact dollar amount is for the average.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And, you know, you remember that we did the cost of service analysis with Stantec recently, and we moved $20 million from the water side, from the sewer side to the water side. And of course, sewer is 2.5 times the rate. So you automatically incrementally reduce rates for residential customers by making that shift. And we'll do that study every 3 to 5 years. It hadn't been done in 7 to 10. Costs were out of line. So you've reduced residentials incrementally, a very small amount, but still a reduction. And then when we went to the inclining block rate, meaning the more water you use, when industrial or commercial accounts use more water, they're using more of the system and they should pay more. And so the residentials benefited because they use the least amount of water of all of our customers. And that's what you heard from a co-op, that if they were individual metered, they would get the advantage of, and what their issue really is some people in the co-op are using more water than others. You may have
That's what I thought.
more people in one of the units, but when a flat dollar amount goes to the co-op, it gets split evenly amongst the number of residents. And so they have an option. They can put meters in
Right.
and then pay exactly the amount that they're using, which would be, but I don't care how you split the pie, the number is what it is, and it's just going to be split up between the number of units based on how much water each one of them is using, so.
Well, the question, I guess, when you look at the cost, Mr. Director, is that when you go down to the plan that we have, the stop, it doubled. It didn't double, it doubled. I mean, it went from 600 to 1,500. That's quite a significant amount.
Isn't that the one that at the committee, refresh my memory, that was $2,400 or something? That was 3 or 4 times the rate, and we said, go back and reduce that amount.
Stop
Yes.
box Replacement.
That's correct, Gary.
Yes, the stop box originally
correct.
I mean, it didn't
was
just double.
4 times the amount, and we said, no, you can't charge. You can't increase the price that much. But it has to do with the cost of the material going up, labor going up, and those things, and it's quite a common occurrence. Yeah,
Wow.
that's what it was, stop box.
Matt,
Yeah, Commissioner Blackman?
I want to make sure I'm understanding the concern about the additional meters at a condominium. I think what I heard the customer say was that whatever we charge to install those meters, the condominium is going to increase the cost to the individuals. And
That's
not-
their
not-
cost.
Not just, well, I don't know. I don't know. That I heard not just at the cost. I don't know if that's what I heard, but I'm not sure. So are we saying,
Each unit would have to put in their own setup.
mhm,
And DWSD would come in and install
but it would be charged to the condominium and then the condominium would charge the individual resident. Is that
that.
correct?
That would be up to each association.
unrealistic.
Yeah, and
unrealistic.
that's what,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
Is it beneficial? He made a point that since the condo association basically collects the money, is it beneficial to us that we, they're paying on time? I mean, I know we don't get into the weeds, but the fact that they're paying on time, the water consumption is being paid on time, and the potential of losing regular and consistent payments, is that I'm just saying, what's the thought behind
Yeah,
that?
so you're basically saying the condo is doing the collection from the 200 units and paying us on time. And if we have to go to each individual unit, they'd have to pay us.
They have the same responsibility,
It's
but
it's their call. They come up with the rules for how cost gets allocated at the association. And again, the real discrepancy that when I talk to these groups, the real discrepancy is that one unit's using more water than the other. And why are we splitting it based on the number of units and not? And so in order to tell how much each unit has, you have to have a meter. And by the way, you don't have to have a DWSD meter. They can put in private meters. And then the association can bill each unit based on the amount of water it's
it's
using.
like, because the new developments in
Yeah.
Brush Park, they're doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's up to the development or the homeowner association. We just lay out the options for them and then they make a decision
No, that's a good. point.
based on cost.
Forgot. Guess they're doing that now.
All right, any other questions or comments with regard to the rates? Do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, Mr.
We
Chair.
do.
Okay.
All right,
Upon recommendation of Issachar Rahman, Chief Financial Officer of the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, the Board of Water Commissioners approves the proposed schedule of Detroit retail water and sewage rates and fees consistent with the fiscal year 2023 through 2024 revenue requirement and water and sewage system budgets approved by the Board of Water Commissioners on March 15, 2023. And also authorizes the Director and Chief Financial Officer to take such other action as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote. The proposed schedule of rates and fees is based on the approved operating revenue requirements of $136,670,200 for retail water system and $344,815,500 for the retail sewer system and fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2024. And now therefore be it resolved that the Detroit Board of Water Commissioners approve the attached schedule of rate and fees to support DWSD fiscal year 2024 revenue requirement. And be it finally resolved that the Director and Chief Financial Officer are authorized to take such other action as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution. I so move its adoption.
and is there support?
Support.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The chair, we need a roll call.
All right.
All right, then let's call the roll.
Chairman Einhauser,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blackman, Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes.
All right, that is approved. Are Commissioner Coleman and Commissioner Forte still on the line? I assume not.
Yes, I am.
Yes, and Commissioner Coleman, you vote yes?
Yes.
One's on phone, can't vote.
They can express their. On the, especially on rates. Okay, let's move back to safety update. Mr. Seegers, sorry about that. But we have to be able to charge rates in order to have a safety program. Yes.
Good afternoon
Good afternoon.
to the chairman, members of the Board of Water Commissioners and Director Brown. My name is Derek Seegers. I am the Safety and Risk Manager for DWSD. All right, just giving you an update in regards to PPE. In regards to COVID protocol, we are following the CDC guidelines. At this point right now, taller, I guess, okay. We're following CDC guidelines and we are adhering to those and encouraging individuals to wash their hands frequently. And if those that are in a group setting, if they wish to wear a mask, they can do so. We are also working not only with public affairs, but we're also working with, with HR in regards to when a worker comes up positive, in which I had one within my unit come up positive. So therefore we were all exposed. So therefore we had to work from home and then quarantine, and then 72 hours later test, we were negative, we were able to return to work. That individual that was positive was tested again after 5 days, and then once negative, returned to work. These are the recordable injuries. We have been very good so far for 2023 in comparison to last year. Last year we had 10, and as of this year, through the end of March 2023, January, we had 2 recordables. So for the month of February and for the month of March, we had none. And these are designating the areas of where the injuries occurred with those individuals. As you can see, in 2023, we had a knee and a foot. And this is personnel that are under me, the number of inspections that they conduct. In January, it was 167, February 151, and then 128 in March. And then this is showing the number of gas strikes. I presented this last in February. I showed that there were a total of 77 gas strikes for the year 2022. And thus far, for the first quarter of this year, we've had 10. And I think if we stay on course It will be a significant drop, I would say close to about 45% drop from last year. I think the reason for this is that we are going out, and I wouldn't say that it's browbeating, but to make sure that individuals are adhering to all applicable OSHA rules when they're out there. Updates, therefore, we have trained 16 in general safety, 15 confined space, 15 in trenching and excavation, and we've also introduced forklift training for individuals as well. We've updated injury and accident forms, and we also, with the weather now, looks like it's about to break, but we've had this little cold spell here, but one of my individuals will be working with 2 other individuals to put on a defensive driving classes for DWSD employees. We are really trying to cut down on the number of accidents that occur. Sometimes we feel that individuals may not have been driven a panel van where you're only seeing 180 degrees. You have no windows in the back or no side windows. So we're going to set up a program for that. Also, we are in the process of training DWSD personnel for CPR and AED training. And hopefully once we hit about approximately 40%, as you can see here at MOB, as well as CSF, the cabinets are up, but we want to get to that number before we put those units within those cabinets. If there's any questions? Yes.
Commissioner Blackman?
Just a brief question. After you've done your initial training, how soon do you do follow-up training?
For training for
Any of the things that you talked about in terms of the
CPR training is done every 2 years. As far as general safety, all employees get that when they come on. Trenching and excavation is every 2 years, and confined space can be every 2 years. But it can also be reiterated if an individual is out there and not adhering to those set rules that they have been taught. So they may get a refresher.
Okay, I'm really thinking that you may or may not know whether they are adhering or not, just some follow-up training to make sure that they remain conscious of what they need to do to keep themselves safe and the workplace safe.
And when I said when we were browbeating individuals to make
No,
sure
no,
that.
I'm not browbeating.
Okay, but what I'm saying is this, that, you know, if you do something wrong long enough, you think it's correct. But with my individuals going out there, they not only do that, but they also do stand downs to tell them what it is that they may be doing right and what they should be doing correctly. So therefore, I think that when you see the gas strikes and all of that, I think that is causing those numbers to go down.
Thank you, Mr. Seegers.
All right.
All right, other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next we'll do our security update. Mr. Allen?
So you didn't answer or not?
Good afternoon, Danny Allen,
Good afternoon.
Chief Investigator for DWSD. We are a full-service agency. We provide both uniform and investigative services within the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department. We have a uniform division whose main focus is to provide protection for DWSD employees, buildings, and property. In addition to that, they respond to major main breaks or where there is traffic issues to provide support to DWSD assets. They are specially equipped with a van that includes barriers, barricades, cones, and the like. Recently, we're out at Michigan and Wabash on a main break. We'll get a notification from Mr. Craig or somebody from operations that that service is needed, and we'll respond 24/7 to that. We also man the gates. We're at fixed and roving positions throughout our facilities. And any other issues that may come up. I'll respond to any dispute on our property. We are continually trained and enhanced with state mandated training, biannual firearms qualifications per state standards, officer response to active shooter, chain of command, organizational structure, and reporting incidents, as well as CPR. Everything but CPR is done on a biannual basis. No, it's not advancing. We also operate a revenue protection unit. It's a small group of retired public law enforcement, detectives and investigators. Main focus is protecting DWSD financial assets. Although that's only one aspect of what we do. We work closely with all entities within DWSD. Three main focuses for our revenue, our unbilled and underbilled water usage. That's a data-driven approach. We get that data from a number of sources, primarily finance. We target those meters and we go out and we ensure that they are working properly. If they are not, we get with finance, there's a back bill sent out and future billing occurs, proper future billing. We also look at water loss revenue, that's from vacant homes with burst pipes and incorrect water usage transmission. As I've stated, we perform site investigations to verify any loss of revenue and take action, correct all unidentified problems. This is where the teamwork of DWSD comes in because it touches every single entity here. We recommend the back billing and unbilled water usage. So finance jumps in and they take care of that. We work with meter operations to correct the cause of that underbilling, which is usually a stop or faulty meter. In some very, very specific cases, we will initiate criminal action. That's by obtaining a warrant through the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. We usually reserve that as a last resort. But in that instance, we work with legal. We also do investigations for legal when they need a site investigated or subpoenas served or any of that field service. We work with legal. We also respond to any locations that may result in a breach of the peace or any safety issue for our field personnel. Phone call, we respond 24/7, and we will coordinate a response with law enforcement if necessary. I won't bore you with the numbers. This is where the teamwork comes in. When Director Brown and Chief Bogan first constituted this unit, one of the simple mandates was work collaboratively with all units. Cooperation we have received from all of those entities has resulted in the numbers you see before you.
You can bore us with these numbers all day long.
I will be happy to bore you with those numbers because they're only going to increase. But the real secret sauce here is that none of this happens unless Meter Ops goes out and changes the meters. Collections and billings sends out the proper information and the proper billing. So this is a collective effort for the good of DWSD and all of those entities working together. That was the simple mandate, and that's what's being done. It's reflected in a $28 million number. And that'll get bigger. Any questions?
Any questions?
Commendation.
Commendations. Congratulations to your unit, and we realize, you know, you're the coordinator of a team effort. I know Deborah and legal have been heavily involved in this, and we've said it before, we should say it again. When people don't pay for the water they use, everybody else does, kind of like a co-op.
Yeah, our main focus has been commercial to ensure that businesses are paying their fair share.
Right.
You know, we do a very, very slim amount of residential in response to complaints, but our main focus has been commercial establishments who have the ability to pay.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The next item has to do with amendments to the Lifeline Plan. I know we've discussed this. Commissioner Blackman has a conflict, and so okay. Then let's, is anyone presenting or?
Move
we-
adoption.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Kinlock as proposed and discussed, I think, in the Customer Service
Yes, we are.
Committee.
Yes.
All right,
No.
and is there support?
Support.
All right, any discussion? And some of this has come up in our public participation. I'll say the obvious, not a lot of people believe it, but we're on the same side as the water advocates who come before us. We all have the same objective in mind, and so.
I just want to say, agree with you and want to say for the record, we say it consistently, this is forever a living document. And I just appreciate Attorney Pastriche and the director and everybody involved in the team who, like I said before, listened and have built out a policy that the community had a input in. So yes, so I am very happy that this policy continues to evolve.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would just like to clarify for the record that the amended policy that's before you is the one that includes the enhancements, the friendly amendments recommended by we, the people of Detroit. So I just want to make sure that's clear on the record, and that was sent to everyone a
Yes.
good
so-
day and a half ago. So-
Absolutely had opportunity to review. That's why I'm had to mention that this policy has the fingerprints and the involvement from the community. And I love when that happens. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
important information. Any other questions? Hearing none, then we have a motion. Yes, we have a motion on the floor. Hearing none, then all those in favor of the amendments to the Lifeline program, please say aye. Any opposed? And
Aye.
that is adopted. Then I think we've covered everything down to the director's metrics.
Mr. Chair, I'll just say that we've entered construction season, which means we're putting a full court press on the restorations around the city, all the barrels and barricades that are sitting on restorations. We're putting a full court press on getting them cleaned up. Fire hydrants are no longer a problem. There were only 2 in the month of March, and when I last looked, there were 0 that needed to be done, but we'll continue to stay on them as people call. And with that said, I'll give the board an opportunity to review, the metrics, and if you have any questions or concerns. But DWSD is in good, as good a shape now as it's ever been, and we just want to continue to improve it.
All right. Questions of the director? Then comments by commissioners.
Just want to say thank you and appreciate see, it makes my job and all of our jobs easier when citizens contact us and you all move quickly. That really, thank you all for responding. I mean, I have to give a gold star to the DWSD department among all the departments,
All right. Any other comments by commissioners? Comments by the chair, I have none. Let's move to the consideration of a motion to go into a closed session for the purpose of receiving legal advice from our general counsel. Would someone make that motion?
Mr. Chair, move that we go, we got to read the resolution.
Why don't you?
Support.
Okay, where's the resolution? What page?
And this is consistent with section 8H of the Michigan Open Meeting Act.
Okay.
And so this requires a roll call vote.
So move as stated under we're meeting in closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, section H of that act.
Okay, and is there support?
Support.
Discussion of any kind? Let's call the roll.
Chairman Einhauser,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlaw.
Yes.
All right, that is adopted. So we are transitioning into closed session. Thanking and excusing those who don't need to be here. All right, we are now out of public session. Is there a motion to adjourn? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.